What's going on, everyone? So, the Los Angeles Clippers are in a very weird position, right? It's kind of hard to gauge and really properly judge the Clippers. I definitely think the Clippers got worse, right? They lost Paul George, who, yes, Kawhi is your best player, but Kawhi's just been incredibly unreliable. And Paul George has kind of been, he hasn't been super healthy and super reliable, but he's kind of been your one constant, right? And he at times is your best player and just an incredible talent, period. Right? I mean, Paul George may be one of the most undervalued guys ever, right? Not, I don't think he's but I definitely think he's up there. I mean, you talk about a guy that, 6'8", 6'9", that can literally do everything out there on the basketball court. Score with the best of them, defend with the best of them, right? Make plays with the best of them. Like, talk about a Swiss Army knife type player. You don't just replace that guy. Right? Unless you're getting a Kevin Durant or something like that, which they didn't. They replaced him with a bunch of role guys. Now, I do like what the Clippers did to kind of piece together this roster. I do think that they are deep. I do think that they did add some nice talent, but not to the level of Paul George. I think all the guys they added combined aren't as good as Paul George. However, the head coach, Ty Lue, said, when you lose a guy of Paul George's stature, instantly people think, oh, they can't win or they're not going to be competitive. But that just challenges me even more. Okay, people are counting us out or people don't think we're going to be good. That right there just gives me an extra dose of motivation. I can't wait to prove everybody wrong. Now, here's the thing. Obviously, he's not going to say, oh, no, we're trash. Like, losing Paul George, we're cooked. Call it a season. It's a wrap, right? Like, he's not going to say anything like that. Also, he has proven this before, right? The Clippers would have went to the playoffs a couple seasons back, and they had no business in the playoffs. I mean, they were missing the two stars the entire season, and Tyronn Lue basically coached a bunch of role players into being a playoff team. However, they ended up missing the playoffs because it was the first year of the play-in. Right? So they ended up missing entirely because they ended up getting the play-in and losing twice, which ended up leading them to missing the playoffs entirely, right? Otherwise, they were a playoff team. They were like the first team really screwed by the play-in, right? So I do believe him in the sense like, and he has shown the ability to prove like, hey, I can do a lot with less, right? But here's the thing. I don't think that they're not going to be competitive. However, winning is a very different thing, right? I think the Clippers are still going to be very competitive. I think they're still going to be a tough team to beat. They still have Paul George and Kawhi, or not Paul George, James Harden and Kawhi Leonard, right? So they still have the two stars, and they have a very deep, talented roster. I mean, Mo Bamba, Nicholas Batum, Kobe Brown, Cam Christie, right? Obviously, those are young guys, but I'm just kind of going through the list here. Amir Coffey, Chris Dunn, right? Which is, I thought, a big acquisition for them, right? James Harden, Bones Highland, Kai Jones, which, again, I think is another great pickup for them. Derrick Jones Jr., another great pickup for them. Kawhi Leonard, Terrence Mann, Jordan Miller, Kevin Porter Jr. Again, Kevin Porter Jr. was a 20-point-a-game guy not that long ago. Norman Powell, PJ Tucker, Ivica Zubac, who they just gave a new contract to, right? They are very deep. They are very talented. They are very versatile. They have scoring. They have youth. They have everything. Right? This is a team that I do think can make some noise. The problem is you are in the Western Conference. If they were in the East, I'd be like, man, they're probably still a top, 5 or 6 seed. However, they aren't in the Eastern Conference. They are in the Western Conference where a team can win 50 games and still be a play-in team, right? That's very different. Very different, right? Like the 6th seed, or not even the 6th seed, the 5th seed in the Eastern Conference won 47 games. Put that in perspective. The Lakers won 47 games. They finished 7th. The Suns and the Pelicans finished 49 wins. 49 wins. And Pelicans finished 8th. Suns finished 6th. The Milwaukee Bucks won 49 games, and they were third. They were the 3 seed. It's just a different beast. Again, the Mavericks were the 5th seed at 50 wins. The Knicks were the 2 seed at 50 wins. It's a different beast entirely. I mean, you're talking the Thunder, the Nuggets, Timberwolves, the Mavericks. Those 4 teams right there are probably your top 4. Suns and the Lakers are going to be tough. Pelicans, we'll see what they do with DeJounte Murray and a new skinny Zion, right? The Sacramento Kings just got DeMar DeRozan. The Warriors, they lost Clay, but 1, Clay is not Paul George, and 2, they did a good job of rounding out the roster. You have the Memphis Grizzlies, who are going to be back in the conversation. The Spurs did a bunch of things that add play. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if the Clippers missed the playoffs entirely. Their best player, you can't count on. He's incredibly unreliable. Kawhi Leonard couldn't play for Team USA because of his knees. He literally got kicked off of Team USA because of his knees. That problem's just not just going to go away. Right? He's only getting older. Like last season, to his credit, he did play 68 games. Right? Which is the most games he's played since 2016. In which he played 74 games. He was on San Antonio back then. He played the most, last season he played the most games in 7 years. Literally. The most games he's played in 7 years. And it was 68 games. Before that, he played 52 games, didn't play, missed the entire season. Then he played in 52 games. Then he played in 57 games, 60 games, 9 games. 74 games was back in 2016, 2017. This guy, you can't count on him. The guy is as unreliable as it gets. So it's just like, again, like, how good can the Clippers be when your best player is only going to play probably 50, let's call it 60 games. So Kawhi Leonard's probably going to miss at least 22 games. And you don't have now Paul George to pick up the slack when he's gone. Now it's James Harden, a bunch of role players. And James Harden at times does not look great. Right? Like, and that's not even counting the playoffs. Let's not even get into the playoffs with Kawhi Leonard. Right? Like, again, say what you want about Paul George. And look, Paul George hasn't been Mr. Reliable in the playoffs either. However, he's played in more playoff games than Kawhi has. He's played in 2 playoff games, 2023, 2024, 2 playoff games in 2022, 2023, 11 playoff games, 2020, 2021, 13 playoff games in 2019, 2020. So he has played, since being a Clipper, 28 playoff games in the 4 seasons that the Clippers, like, the 4 seasons that they've been in the playoffs. Sorry, correction. Right? The 4 seasons that they were in the playoffs in which Kawhi played. Let me even preference that even further. The guy is unreliable. The guy can't even play in the playoffs. You can't even count on him to be there. Right? Like when they missed the play-in. Paul George showed up. Kawhi didn't. Right? So, again, and not only can Kawhi not be counted on in the playoffs, you also have another star that completely disappears in the playoffs and is notorious for disappearing in the playoffs. Yes, James Harden, don't get me wrong, he'll have a game here and there. Well, he'll just turn around and win you a game. Right? I mean, it's just who he is. But you'll have another 4 to 6 games where he just is completely irrelevant out there. And you can't count on him. And he completely disappears. He does it every single season. Right? And I know, playoff P, pandemic P, right? I know Paul George has had some stinkers in the playoffs too. But he's also had some excellent games in the playoffs. He's also had some big games in which he's won games and all that stuff, right? But now you don't have him. You basically replaced him with James Harden. Right? It's just, they're not going to be as good defensively. They're not going to be as versatile. They're not going to be as lethal. They're not going to be as deadly. Right? Look, James Harden and Kawhi Leonard is quite the duo. Right? The problem is, this isn't James Harden back in his Houston days. If this was, triple-double James Harden giving you 30, 15, and 15 every night, yeah, it'd be like the Clippers are probably, like, if Kawhi can stay healthy, the Clippers might even win the championship. But it's not that. He is a role player version of himself, compared to what he was, right? He's better than a role player. He's still very good, but compared to where he was, a handful of seasons ago, he's a very different player. And so you have one guy that you can't count on and can't stay healthy. You have another guy who is unreliable, right? And then you have a bunch of role guys that, don't get me wrong, I really like their roster outside of James Harden and Kawhi, but what are your stars going to give you? Right? Like, what can you count on your stars? And I don't think that Kawhi Leonard and this version of James Harden plus a bunch of role players is good enough to actually win a championship. I don't. Are they good enough? Like, will they be in the playoffs? I wouldn't be shocked. I also wouldn't be shocked if they missed the playoffs. Right? Like, the Clippers, in my opinion, are one of the toughest teams to gauge this season. Seriously, they are one of the toughest teams to gauge. You can even make an argument they're the toughest team to gauge. Just because, like, I don't think anyone would be shocked if they're, like the 5th seed or 4th seed. Right? If Kawhi plays 75 games and James Harden can get back to a version of himself he was, right? Like, and their role guys stuff, like, yeah, I think they could probably be a top 4 or 5 seed. But at the same time, I wouldn't be shocked if James Harden isn't able to get to that place. Kawhi Leonard only plays 50 games, and they end up only winning 45 games and miss the play-in entirely. Like, that wouldn't surprise me. Not at all. Not in the slightest. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, and I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you agree with me? Do you think, like, yeah, the Clippers, they're cooked, they're done? Do you think, like, no, hey, they're going to surprise a lot of people, they're going to be really good? Do you trust Kawhi? Do you trust James Harden? Again, I like how they rounded out the roster. I liked how they filled out the roster. I thought they did a really good job. But I don't think they have enough to win a championship. Will they be competitive? Will they be good? Yeah. But championship? No. They couldn't even win a championship with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard and a stacked roster on many times. So I don't expect them to now win all of a sudden when the West is better and it's James Harden and Kawhi Leonard. I don't buy it. But again, how do you feel? Whatever your thoughts are, love to hear it. Let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. Lets me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.